Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show. Real talk, big opinions, and fearless conversations. From the front lines of politics to the latest in pop culture. From breaking sports headlines to the stories that move the world. Nothing's off limits, and nobody's holding back. Arrington Gavin is here to break it down, build it up, and keep it all the way real. So turn it up, lean in, and let's get into it. This is the Arrington Gavin Show.
Hey, my friends. Welcome to another great episode of the Arrington Gavin Show, your go-to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day, whether it's politics, sports, pop culture, or the latest buzz. Look, we're diving deep and keeping it real, so please do me a favor, kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation. Family, I'm honored to have on today's conversation, I'm honored to have State Senator Ghazala Hashmi. She is currently the Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor here in the state of Virginia, and I'm just honored to have her on. Many firsts for her. She's a quite successful individual, currently leading in the polling here in Virginia, my home state, and so just very excited to have her on in this crunch time, because we're getting very close to the grand finale, my friends. So again, I truly appreciate her taking the time out of her busy schedule to come here for a conversation and to again, inform everybody why this election is so crucial. As you know, the Commonwealth is probably one of the more recognized and national known elections. Effects from these elections can possibly define the political climate in the other selected states. So again, we've spoken about it before. We have big elections. We have a former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, Democratic nominee, who's running for governor here in the state of Virginia. Her opponent is the current Lieutenant Governor, Republican Winsome Earl Sears. As I mentioned earlier, we have State Senator Ghazala Hashmi, who is the Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor, and her opponent is conservative talk radio host John Reed. And then following, we have the Attorney General's race. We have former State Delegate Jay Jones, Democratic nominee for Attorney General, and then incumbent Mr. Jason Myers, Republican in Virginia. So again, big stuff happening in the area, y'all, but I'm honored to have on State Senator Hashmi so we can have a great convo from there. But as always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to tune into yet another great episode here on the Arrington Gavin Show. For those who are watching us on YouTube, please do me a favor. Like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with family. I truly appreciate it. We continue to grow our subscribers and our viewership numbers every day. So I truly appreciate that. We want to keep that momentum, keep great conversations happening. So again, please subscribe and follow us on our YouTube channel. In addition to that, you can also watch past episodes of the Arrington Gavin Show on GOATverse TV. That's right, GOATverse TV. So ways you can tune into the show simply by downloading the app, available on the App Store, Google Play Store, Roku, as well as Amazon Fire TV. And then if you want to listen to us on the go, we're available on all major podcast platforms. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show. And lastly, you can also listen to us on the radio airwaves. Shout out to some of our friends like in the New Orleans area. Probably listen to us right now on WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Again, that's only on WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about. And then we're going to move it on to the Metro Atlanta area to WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights Monday through Fridays at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's on WDJY 99.1 FM. And finally, Afro Vibes Radio, based out of the Houston area. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show every Saturdays at 12 p.m. Central Time. And so again, multiple ways you can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show. And I think I've said all that spiel. We continue to grow each and every day, so I hope I didn't forget anything. But before we head to a commercial break, we always love to throw in a fun fact about our guest. So today's fun fact about our guest: not only is she a lover of American writers like the late great Toni Morrison, but in addition to that, she was the first woman to represent the 10th district in the Virginia State Senate. She was also the first Muslim elected to the Senate of Virginia. And in addition to that, she is the first, give me 1 second. She is the first nomination. She is the first Muslim and first Indian American to be nominated for a statewide office here in Virginia. And if elected, she will be the first Asian American and Muslim to win statewide office in Virginia. Many firsts there, many firsts. So we're excited again to have her on. I was about to do my Trump, many firsts, a lot of firsts, but I know a lot of firsts too. I have some firsts. Give me a second. No, let me stop. Arrington, you got starting to clown up here, But no, we love to have fun here on the Arrington Gavin Show. But again, many firsts, an honor to have her on. So look, my friends, we are going to take a quick commercial break. I'm rushing our intro because I want to have as much time as I do with the senator. So again, we're going to head to a quick commercial break. Look, my friends, do not go anywhere. You're listening to the Arrington Gavin Show. Don't change that dial. We'll be right back.
Every man has a story to tell. Your ambitions, your achievements, your legacy. Your suit should reflect that story, crafted precisely, designed for impact, and tailored exclusively for you. We work with only the finest fabrics, luxurious wools, silk, linen, and blends from world-renowned mills in Italy, the UK, and India. These fabrics are the foundation of custom suits that exude elegance and stand the test of time. But a suit isn't just about fabric, it's about fit, and it's about confidence, and it all starts with you. When you work with me, you'll receive a personalized consultation, whether in person or over Zoom. Together, we'll explore your vision and discuss your needs, and we're gonna bring your ideas to life. My journey as a designer includes apprenticing under New York-based designer Clavon Leonard, showcasing collections at New York Fashion Week, Algeria Fashion Week, and the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. That experience is what we bring to every suit we create, from weddings to corporate events and everything in between. We specialize in crafting one-of-a-kind suits for life's most significant moments. Dapper Luke has been recognized as one of Baltimore's best menswear in 2023, and I was honored to be one of the 10 designers selected for the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. With over 900 satisfied clients, we proudly serve Virginia Beach and Baltimore, bringing world-class designs to these incredible communities. We don't just make suits, we craft confidence. Your suit will fit your body, your style, and it will tell your story. Book your free online personal consultation today. Visit www.dapperluke.com.
Order your beard care products with Rugged Evolution. We're your local beard care line that supports the maintenance of your full, mature beard. Our line includes conditioning shampoos, moisturizers, balms, oils, shaving lotions, and exfoliating soaps. These products moisturize, hydrate, nourish, and have all the natural ingredients for a healthy beard. Log on to our website or download our app to place your orders. Become a man of distinction with Rugged Evolution Beard Care. And remember,
rugged is the new smooth.
And we still in traffic.
Don't look familiar, do I? Not in this seat.
Hey, what's that you listening to?
Here to host today.
Hey, turn it up.
With me?
Yeah, this that new Goat Verse app. I got you.
So y'all want to know where the goats are? They're off on the sidelines.
Looking for fresh, relevant content wherever you go?
What was the name of that he said?
Introducing GoatVerse TV.
GoatVerse, that's what it's called.
The free streaming app that brings you the best podcasts, current events, and thought-provoking opinions all in one place. Download it now from the Apple Store or Play Store. In Goats, we trust.
All right, my friends, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us here on the Arrington Gavin Show. As I mentioned, I'm honored to have on special guest, State Senator Miss Ghazala Hashmi. She is currently running for Lieutenant Governor here in the state of Virginia. Senator, what an honor to have you on. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule. I take it you have been kind of busy. We're getting close to crunch time, are we?
We're very close to crunch time, but I'm delighted to join you. Thank you so much.
Well, no, thank you. And as I mentioned with our listeners, there is pretty heavy and intense is an election cycle happening here in the state of Virginia, which will be one of the few states that have all year round elections. But this one is is catching all the eyes nationwide. Really, we have probably the most diverse ticket really on both sides, on the Democratic ticket and the Republican ticket. And as I mentioned, the candidates early. But if you don't mind, for some folks who are not familiar with you, if you don't mind sharing just a brief background about yourself.
Well, absolutely. And thank you again. And just to share a little bit about who I am and why I'm in this position at this point. I decided to run for office for the first time in 2019, and it was for the state Senate seat that represents the Richmond area and some surrounding localities. But prior to running for office, I'd actually spent my entire professional life, almost 30 years, in higher education. I was a professor of literature primarily and American literature specifically. And I never thought I would leave the classroom. I had a real passion for teaching. My family is a family of educators. My dad was a college professor as well. And I had never anticipated that I would step into the political stage. But, in 2016, something happened that kind of shook a lot of us in this country. For me in particular, it felt very earth-shattering in some ways. I spent 30 years teaching American literature, and specifically the foundational text of our American democracy, the definitions of who and what we are as a complex and very diverse nation, all its long history. And 2016, Americans elected an individual who really seemed to be the antithesis, not the synthesis of what I had been teaching my students. For me in particular, too, as an immigrant and as a Muslim who had lived her whole life in this country, Trump's election came about on several points of perspectives, but namely, a lot of it was based on bigotry, on xenophobia, Islamophobia. You may recall his big push was for the Muslim ban in the 2016 election. And then when he was actually inaugurated in 2017, just a few weeks after the inauguration, he said he wanted to establish a Muslim registry in this country, which, we know where these kinds of dark impulses lead. We've seen the horrific tragedies of the 20th century. So I just felt like I couldn't stay quiet and silent anymore. I had to be more visible, both as an American as well as an immigrant and Muslim. And I decided to run for that Senate seat. And a lot of people told me that I probably wasn't the right kind of candidate for the Richmond area. My first time running for office, but also as an immigrant and a Muslim, no one like me had actually ever run, let alone won a seat. And so it was a challenge, but I just love challenges. And so I decided to take it on. And I was gratified to not only secure the Democratic nomination, but also to get so much support from voters around this region. It really was a shot in the arm for those of us who were feeling apprehensive about the country and about the direction. The fact that voters in this area could elect me, and we won it by almost 10 points as well.
Wow.
We flipped a red seat blue at that point and secured a trifecta for Democrats in Virginia. So I have absolutely loved the work that I've been doing in the Virginia Senate, and I decided to run for Lieutenant Governor for many of the same reasons that I ran for the first time.
Two follow-up questions, Senator, I would like to ask. And by the way, I want to remind our audience, the race that you ran in the primary for Lieutenant Governor for the was a jam-packed race. It was you and 5 others, so it was a very competitive race. So again, that just speaks volumes again on the work that you have done as a state senator. But I also want to mention one of my follow-ups is, being that you were new to the world of politics, a lot of folks will say, let me start on the local level, get my feet wet in a ways, get comfortable and all that good stuff. But you said, no, let me go to the state level, which that's quite a leap. That's quite a leap. Was there any hesitation prior to making that decision? Or was it just straightforward? Hey, look, the way the country is going right now, as you mentioned, I can't stay quiet. I have to take this leap, and I have to do it for the greater good.
Yes, one reason I chose to run for state government is because I know how really critical the work is of state governments. We're actually making the decisions that directly impact families, whether it's our legislation and budget decisions around schools, around housing affordability, infrastructure, making sure that we offer our constituents the best opportunities. So I knew that we could have a direct impact, and I really wanted to work at the state level for that reason. But it's been an interesting journey, just focusing on the work at hand and the level of experience that I've gained now in 6 years in the Virginia Senate. I've been able to bring together my own personal professional experiences, whether it's around analysis, close reading, being able to communicate on a message, just as I did in the classroom. So it really synthesizes a lot of the experiences that I had previously in this new position.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, and the second follow-up I wanted to ask, you mentioned in 2016 the world pretty much changed politically, right? And I think we all witnessed that. I'm here very, very openly as a critic of this administration, someone who is an independent, by the way, still very I'm a believer of, at the end of the day, I'm always going to be team people and what's going to be great for the people. And if I see something that causes a lot of division, to me, something has to be done here. And so when we found out Trump was getting elected in 2016, what went through your mind on, okay, if he won, how is the climate of like the American people? Like what's going on in their mind, and how, like, what's the root cause of why, the way went to this direction? And now he's in his second term. So I'm just curious to, get your take on the root of it. I mean, what does that say about the voters now? What are they leaning towards in a sense?
I don't think American voters and the reaction that we've seen is too different from what we're seeing on a global scale as well. There is a great deal of nationalism and nationalistic urges that are occurring in many, many countries. And a lot of that is the result of some key pressure points. Economic reasons are at the heart of so much of what we're seeing. The fear and the anxiety with the increased migration across different countries, let alone continents. We are at considerable stress points on a global scale. And so this nation is not immune to those kinds of pressures as well. And so I think Trump tapped into and continues to tap into some very key instincts, the fear of the other, of immigrants coming from other nationalities, economic anxieties that continue to increase in pretty dramatic fashion, especially in the last few months now. The issues around scarcity, the concerns around access to jobs and opportunities. All of those are very serious issues, but rather than addressing them and finding ways to solve these critical issues, Trump instead offers an antidote of saying, I understand your concerns and your fears, and I'm going to amplify them, and we're going to resolve them by scapegoating other communities. And that's been a path that has appealed to a lot of people, unfortunately.
Yeah. Senator, currently here in the state of Virginia, we are seeing again troubling times. I can speak for Hampton Roads because I'm a Chesapeake lifelong Chesapeake resident here in Virginia. Hampton Roads is made up of a lot of federal workers, government workers. Really, I feel like the majority of the state of Virginia, being so close to the capital, right? And so we have seen, we currently are in a shutdown. Hopefully, by the time it will end very soon. But we're in a shutdown. We're seeing funding being cut from from schools, universities, you name it. I mean, we're in very critical time. Healthcare being taken away. I mean, the list goes on and on. I want to talk about some of the key issues that you are pushing as running for lieutenant governor. What are some of your top priorities that you're pushing for, especially to remind voters on, again, why this is so crucial?
I'm so glad you speak about the concerns in Hampton Roads areas and Northern Virginia, and even in my own district, I have many federal workers in Central Virginia as well. And the issues that I've been focused on are an effort to respond to the crisis that we are seeing, the chaos and the dysfunctionality of Washington. Top of mind, of course, is healthcare. With the cuts to Medicaid, we're going to see a precipitous impact that's going to affect all of our healthcare and hospital system, regardless of whether an individual receives Medicaid or not. Top of mind right there is the lack of reauthorization by Congress for the enhanced premium tax credits, those tax credits that allow so many individuals to purchase health insurance through the Virginia Exchange, that allow businesses, small business owners especially, to provide healthcare services or benefits for their employees. About 300,000 Virginians are going to be affected by the end of this year if Congress fails to reauthorize. And Speaker Johnson has already made it known that he doesn't really intend to pursue that reauthorization. And so the ripple effect across our hospital and healthcare system are going to be serious. We are taking steps to address as best as we can at the state level. But the state budget cannot fulfill all of those shortfalls that we're going to see from lack of federal funding, because it's not just healthcare. The biggest concern right now, immediate concern for us, is that at the end of October, which is just around the corner next week, SNAP benefits are not going to be available to families in need. And hunger is a real issue. Hunger is a real concern for many families. And I've been talking to our local food banks. I'll be visiting some food banks on Monday and Tuesday of this week. And we are going to have to proactively, as a state, fill those dollars that the federal government is responsible for. And I want to make that point clear, that this is a federal government responsibility. It's a social contract that we have. And when the federal dollars are pulled without any kind of justification or any kind of efforts to provide states with assistance, the state budget is going to have to fill some of those gaps. So those are immediate concerns. And then education, as you said, we've seen the dismantling of the U.S. Department of Education. And for us here in Virginia, the biggest concern is that we really rely on federal language for civil rights protections for students with special needs, students with disabilities. So I have already drafted the language, the legislation, to ensure that our students with special needs have not just opportunity, but that they're guaranteed their right to access public education.
Wow, that's very important.
That language is ready, and in the 2026 session, we'll be introducing that legislation. So yes, anticipating and watching everything that's happening in Washington is so critically important, because we have to take the steps as state leaders now to respond and address those significant concerns.
Yeah, I mean, on the education piece, I mean, that's one of my passions. My father, he is a educator here in Norfolk, Virginia. I volunteered working with organizations that work with kids with learning disabilities. I myself had a learning disability when I was in school, and I worked and persevered through it from elementary all the way to college. And so that's extremely important. That's extremely important, and great to hear that you mentioned that. Now, most Virginians are concerned about disparities in school funding, again, between districts. What strategies, Senator, do you believe could possibly help ensure the equitable distributions resources statewide?
Well, I am happy to share with your listeners that we are actually moving to address those disparities. 2 years ago, the General Assembly authorized a significant study on our school funding formula and the disparities that we see. And that research showed to us that as a state, we have underfunded public education by over $6.6 billion. And that is a state responsibility that we have not fulfilled. And so we've been working to address that significant underfunding, which has impacted our localities and thus has created those disparities. Affluent localities have been able to fill in the gaps so that the state funds did not do, but our underserved, under-resourced communities have not been able to do that. And thus we see these wide differences across Virginia. And so 2 years ago, we increased the public education funding by over $2 billion. That was a budget amendment that I introduced. This past year, I introduced another budget amendment, and that was funding that brought us another over $800 million. So almost $3 billion of additional funds have now been sent to our local governments for public education. We still have many more gaps to fill, and that's going to be important for us. But the good news is that we are actually moving in the direction of changing our funding formula. Virginia is among a handful of states that still rely on a funding model that is outdated at this point. It's almost 50 or 60 years old. Wow. And this new funding formula really directs state dollars towards those localities that are serving the students with highest needs. So it really identifies and targets student populations. So those localities that serve students from lower economic situations, localities serving our English language students, and large populations of special needs students, they will be given increased funding as a result of the populations that they serve. So it's a better formula that directs resources where they need to go and creates a great deal more stability and equity in that process.
That's excellent, and I'm glad you mentioned that to our audience here, because here on this show, and they all know I'm too. I always say I'm a student, a 24/7 student, as far as very fascinated with politics, always learning and hoping to kind of push the narrative and bridge the gap with my listeners, because we have a lot of young people that are they're hesitant away from politics. They're like, I don't really follow it, so I'm choosing not to vote, which I'm the stickler that's saying, oh my goodness, don't be that person. Like, it's so important to vote. And I'm always looking at the numbers locally. How's the voting going? How's the voting numbers? Is there increase? Is there an increase? So I'm glad you mentioned things like that, because I would say the climate now, voters are exhausted by seeing old models and not seeing any push for let's try something new. I've been a critic to the left just by saying, hey, look, there's some new things that needs to be done, because at the end of the day, you're nationally, it's almost in the rebuilding stage. I wouldn't say that for the state of Virginia, because the state of Virginia had the majority in the Senate and the House, but there is elections happening in the House, which all 100 seats are up for grabs. But I want to kind of take a breather from education. I will go back to education, but just to discuss your race, you're running against a gentleman, John Reed, conservative talk radio host, someone who is very unfamiliar from the public office, not shy away from politics, but very unknown in the public office. Polling is showing you in the lead, but it's quite close. Would you say that voters are they're happening, I don't know, leaning towards newcomers in the world of politics, or what in your mind does that say about, okay, this individual, no record, whatsoever. This is no shot to him. I've reached out to his campaign to have a conversation, just like how I'm having with you here on this program. But a person with no resume whatsoever, yet the numbers are showing kind of, but have your team, have you shared anything like that with during the campaign trail by any chance?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a challenge to increase your name ID. We are working to make sure voters know who I am. And we live in our little circle, so folks around the Richmond area and surrounding localities know me, know my work, and I've been active in the Senate now for 6 years. But it's really incumbent upon us to reach everyone all across Virginia. So I've traveled for 19 months over on this long campaign. I have put over 50,000 miles on my car, and we have talked to people all across Virginia.
Who's counting? No, I'm joking.
But it's a real challenge to build that name recognition, and so we are doing that. I think we've begun to break through in many different regions, and I'm very confident that voters are going to recognize the stark difference between me and my opponent. So let's just put experience aside. First of all, I have been working in state government for these 6 years. I have built those critical relationships across state agencies and across both chambers across the aisle. I'm ready to hit the ground running on day one. And the lieutenant governor has a very important role. Lieutenant governor is president of the Senate, and I think you need to have some experience inside that chamber to really be effective at the job. But putting that aside, the stark contrast that voters are beginning to see between me and my opponent makes it really clear who's focused on doing the serious work of making sure Virginia is stable and healthy through these next critical years. My opponent has articulated quite publicly that he wants to close every public school in Virginia. That is absurd, and it's also a non-starter in terms of serious effort to improve education. He has likened our reproductive health care system and our access to safe and legal abortion. He has likened that to slavery. He has stated openly that he thinks Donald Trump is doing a great job in ripping away Medicaid and healthcare access to hundreds of thousands of Virginians. He does not oppose the harm to our federal workforce here in Virginia. And, as an openly gay man, he has said he's okay with not supporting marriage equality. And so when some seers on the debate stage said she didn't think it's discriminatory to ban marriage equality in Virginia or to fire people simply because they are gay, he said it hurt his feelings, but he's okay with it. Well, I want to make it crystal clear, bless his heart. Policymaking isn't about his personal feelings. It really is about doing what is correct and right for everybody, and protecting civil rights for every Virginian is absolutely important. So voters are understanding there's a real difference, and there's a lot at stake when we go into this election this November.
That right there, just give me a second as that kind of, as I take that in, Senator, because that's just it saddens me, because as a young voter who's also encouraging friends and family the importance to vote and things of that nature, I'm also big on the more you know, the more you grow. And I feel as though the more the country knows and accepts is growth in our country. That's why I've mentioned in the beginning of the show the many firsts for you, because I look at that as obviously it's an accomplishment for you, but it's growth for the country. It's growth for the country, seeing diversity again on both sides of this election ticket. It's diversity on both sides. I love to see it. And going back to education, I mean, we're in a climate now where You have certain curriculums that they're pushing away. I've been noticing the right has always pushed education as some of their top priorities, because they bring up the men and men and women's sports and this and that and the other, and I don't want our children to know too much about African American history because I don't want them to feel bad, in a sense, which is one of my good buddies, actually, Delegate Alex Askew, he had said, well, Black history is American history, and I'm saying you're absolutely right, and I continue to repeat that because it is, but it saddens that it's in our country now, in our climate, that's being taken away, and it's very, very, it saddens me when I hear things like that. Going back to actually, I want to go back to education, but you mentioned about the 19,000 miles that you have taken, the 19 months that you have been campaigning. What has folks that you've been speaking with within those 19 months, what have you heard the folks share with you, possibly some of their issues that they would like to see, or changes they want to hopefully see if say if you're elected? What have you heard from the people?
And it is not 50,000 miles plus
50,000.
Yeah. But just going back to what you just said about African American history is American history. You're absolutely right. And so that is something that a lot of voters have actually said to me. Are we going to restore our history standards to where they were before Youngkin came into office? And I want to make sure your listeners know that my full commitment is to restore the full history of America in our school curriculum. And that's so important because, I taught, as I said, I taught American literature, and I taught in a community college. So I had so many students coming from the public school system. And the hunger to really understand the full scope and depth of our American identity is so important, and it's in our text, and we must tell the full story. So education and restoration of public education has been top of mind for many voters. And as I've been talking, despite whatever locality I'm in, housing and housing affordability is something I hear about consistently, and it's an area that I've been working on to address the issues that impede our ability to increase supply when there is so much demand. And that's an area that I know this General Assembly in 2026 is going to be focused on. I'm hearing so much from our military veterans and families. The cuts to our VA health system have been devastating. We're losing staff in these hospitals. And so when our veterans go in for critical care and services, there's simply not enough people to address their healthcare needs. And they deserve our utmost support after the sacrifices that they have given to our country. So those are top of mind issues. And then so many of our Virginia's families are just overwhelmed by the increase of cost of living. Childcare is prohibitively expensive if it's accessible. The increase in rent is hitting so many families hard. Groceries are becoming much more out of reach, the cost of prescription drugs. So these are economic challenges that are hitting families from every direction. And much of it's now compounded by what we're seeing in the federal government and the ridiculous tariffs that have been imposed on so many of our businesses. So all of that is creating a perfect storm. It's really going to be critical as we move into this next administration to tackle these problems and to use data, evidence, and to bring in our best minds to provide real solutions. We've just been skating by for 4 years with this Youngkin administration. There hasn't been a serious effort to really address the needs of Virginia's struggling families.
I've also been a critic of our governor, even though he's a very, very nice guy. If you meet him, he actually he recently was the commencement speaker at my old high school in Norfolk, and yeah, that was a thing there. But I had a nickname for him. I think it was the veto in chief, because the only thing I knew about him is that he vetoes a lot. So I really can't tell you exactly what has happened under his. But anyway, not enough about him. But you mentioned education. We talked about education. One big thing I have spoken with is teachers. There is a teacher shortage happening in that is a major concern in Virginia. What specific policies would you advocate to attract and retain qualified educators, particularly in undeserved regions?
Yes. One thing we know from our research is that while increasing pay really helps to attract and retain teachers, that's not the main objective for so many of our wonderful educators. Yes, we need to increase our teacher pay. Virginia is falling behind in comparison to many of its neighboring states, but the teachers I speak to want to have greater voice in their classroom and be respected as the professionals that they are. They want effective professional development opportunities. They ask for mentorship, a structured, strong mentorship program. And they point to the fact that, we know what makes education work. It's smaller class sizes. And right now, because of our shortages, we are putting more and more students into a classroom, which makes it increasingly more challenging for our educators. So reducing class sizes by attracting more teachers and being able to address real student learning is of critical concern to educators. That means bringing in more supportive adults into the school space. So we need more counselors to help our students navigate the challenges that are, so much sadly a part of the lives of many of our young people. We need mental health counselors. We need supportive adults to help provide literacy skills, to provide tutoring inside those school spaces. We need strong training programs for our principals and our supervisors so that there is more support all around in these environments. So educators are asking for a few things. Increased pay, yes, but respect for the profession that they are a part of, and opportunities to continue to grow and thrive professionally. And those are areas that other states are doing quite well in, and we need to follow and replicate some of those models.
Excellent. State Senator, look, we're going to take a quick breather here. When we come back, I would like to talk a little bit about public safety as well as infrastructure, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. My friends, look, you're listening to the Arrington Gavin Show. I'm joined with State Senator Ghazala Hashmi, who is also Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor here in the state of Virginia. My friends, do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
Ghazala Learning Institute, LLC, is a hybrid learning center that strives to educate adults and children in all fields. During the day, we offer programs that are focused on developing students from pre-K to 12th grade, which includes tutoring, homeschool co-op, an after-school program, SAT, ACT prep, and many more engaging academic programs. Our adult education programs include workforce trainings, GED prep, life coaching, various seminars, and many more. Our vision is to train and educate in a positive way that will lead to a positive change in the world, one person at a time. For more information, visit us online at GhazalanLearningInstitute.com or call us at 757-208-7407.
Alrighty, my friends, welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. As I mentioned earlier, I'm joining here with Senator Hashmi for a wonderful conversation. Again, I truly appreciate her taking the time out of your schedule. Again, this is crunch time, so I truly do appreciate it, because I know how busy and how hectic it is, and you've been everywhere. So I truly again, thank you for joining us. Before we went to a commercial break, I mentioned I definitely want to talk a little bit about public safety and as well as infrastructure. So I'll start off with the environment and infrastructure. Senator, how would you ensure that rural communities and urban centers both benefit from infrastructure investments and possibly in like technology innovation as well? How would you strategize that?
Yes, that's a great question, particularly when we're thinking about broadband expansion, which is the cornerstone to attracting and retaining more economic development opportunities for many of these localities. So I've been serving on the Broadband Advisory Council for the past 6 years in Virginia. And, we have in that time period brought in very heavy investments to provide connectivity all across Virginia. And we're very close. A few 100,000 households are left to be connected. Wow. And getting those connections in place, it's a utility as critical as electricity was a century ago. And so once we have the critical infrastructure in place, bringing in economic development into our underserved areas is the next step. And we have a tremendous opportunity to continue to grow in those spaces where we have the potential workforce, but we don't have jobs. And as someone who's worked in the community college system, I'm really looking forward to concentrating on our wonderful 23 community colleges that are all throughout Virginia and that provide opportunities for workforce training, for career and technical programs, and making sure that we have alignment with the needs that are in those localities and the degrees and the credentials that we are providing for the students that live there. So if people have jobs and opportunities waiting for them in the places that they live, they don't have to leave their communities, they don't have to leave their homes and seek opportunity elsewhere. And so that is going to be a first step. Investing in infrastructure that is also environmentally friendly, that is energy responsible, is got to be our next focus here in Virginia. So as we think through about our infrastructure, establishing regulations for buildings that are going to be energy efficient, that are going to help us reduce our carbon footprint, that will make opportunities for solar projects on rooftops and parking lots. All of these are ways that we can begin to creatively address the issues that we have. When we're also thinking about infrastructure, of course, that means our roads, bridges, tunnels, everything, all of that. And there's such a need to bring improvements. Some of these are very aging structures, and we don't want to be at a point where we're facing a crisis. We have to be proactive and address those issues. Similarly, our schools, many of our schools are 50, 60, sometimes 100 years old. And these are buildings that need to be renovated or rebuilt entirely so that our students are in safe environments. So there's a lot to be done. And I think we began on a good path using ARPA dollars from the Biden administration. I hope the federal government comes back and restores some of the support that it was providing, because we got many projects started and on their path under those critical federal funds.
Excellent. No, you're absolutely right. And I can speak for here in Hampton Roads. I mean, I feel as though we've had construction work in our roads since I was a kid. And I'm like, I think they're not quite done. They're getting close. But it is extremely important to get those jobs done. And you mentioned about the aging of schools. I know for alone in the city of Norfolk, I believe they could be losing I think it's like 10 elementary schools, something like that. I forgot the number, but there are plenty of aging schools, high schools, middle schools in our local communities that can use some attendance. I want to talk a little bit about public safety because I'm looking at my time here. What reforms do you believe that are still needed here in Virginia's criminal justice system?
In the wake of the tragedy with George Floyd and the subsequent civil actions that we saw all across the country in the Virginia General Assembly, we made some strong progress in addressing criminal justice issues, the greatest of which was the ending the death penalty here in Virginia. I believe Virginia was the one of the last states we're one of the final states to do that. I know we still have some states that still have the death penalty, but I think that shows our movement forward. We've also decriminalized marijuana, so possession of marijuana doesn't lead to the kind of incarceration that saturated our jails and prison systems for so many decades, and that absolutely destroyed the lives of so many families as well. And so thinking through those critical steps where we understand that criminal justice is also about reformation, rehabilitation, and return, and making those opportunities and pathways for individuals to return to their communities and to have real opportunities for successful jobs, for a stable financial future, stability of family. That's what brings stability to an entire community. And the more we can focus on rehabilitation and finding pathways for individuals to lead meaningful jobs and lives as they reintegrate is critically important. We also need to ensure that our public safety officials are supported and feel valued as they should be for the critical jobs that they provide for all of our communities. We rely on public safety officials to ensure that there is a stability and proper support for all families. One thing I hear from our public safety officials is the critical workforce shortages that they are feeling, and it creates pressure all throughout the entire system when we don't have the kind of numbers of individuals in these professions as we need. So increasing pay, increasing worker protection, making sure that there are healthcare benefits provided to all of our public safety officials and their families, so that and also ensuring that they can actually live in the communities that they protect. The cost of housing is prohibitive to the point that so many of our police officers, our firefighters cannot actually even live in the communities that they serve. And so thinking through all of those ways in which to integrate public safety officials inside the communities helps to create and strengthen the bonds that we need for healthy and thriving neighborhoods.
Senator, I have two more questions left for you, and really quick. I think I have maybe about 3 minutes, but first one I want to ask: in a climate where the partisanship is increasing in politics, how would you, if elected, bridge that gap between Democrats, Republicans, as well as independents?
Well, I like to work on issues through the lens of nonpartisan. For me, education is not a partisan issue.
Yeah.
Public safety isn't a partisan issue. Thinking through what our infrastructure needs are, none of these are really partisan issues. Sadly, some people make them into partisan issues. So, one thing I would like to make sure your listeners see and recognize is that there's a real difference between local government, state government, and then what happens at the national level. We are so close to each other at the state and local level, and we do work in a bipartisan manner. You know, I have great friendships with my colleagues who are on the other side of the aisle, and the issues that impact their constituents impact my constituents. And so we don't necessarily see most of the issues through a deeply divided partisan lens. And I think that's good and healthy for any government in order to function.
Love it. Final question, Senator. Why should Virginians come November 4th? Why should Virginia voters vote for Ghazala Hashmi as the next lieutenant governor here in the state of Virginia?
I think voters, after they take a look at my record and see the work and the commitment that I have made over the last 6 years on a variety of different issues, hopefully understand the level of knowledge and skills and insights that I bring to the role of lieutenant governor. I have been in the Virginia Senate now for 6 years. I'm ready to serve as president of the Virginia Senate.
Senator Hashmi, again, I thank you so much. For those who are watching, I just put up here a graphic of your website, if you don't mind, for folks that would love to continue to know more or stuff you have going on. How can they follow up with you?
Well, thank you so much. Yes, the website is a great place, ghazala4virginia.com. And the latest updates are always provided on our social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. So I would really urge your listeners to take a look.
Wonderful, wonderful. Senator, if you don't mind, I would love to chop it up with you just for about 2 minutes after this program. But again, I thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here for a great conversation on the Arrington Gavin Show. Best of luck to you on your campaign. I hope our listeners, I know our listeners got to know more about you and learned a lot as well. And that's one thing I love about, having this program, having the opportunity to speak with some of our elected officials is, again, everything is learned. We're all still learning, right? And even though we could be voters for quite some time, we're still learning. So I truly appreciate you. And I guess being an educator, you really educated educated our listeners and myself here today. So again, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, and best of luck on your campaign.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, my friends. Look, I hope you enjoyed another great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. As I mentioned time and time again, it's so important that you all continue to do your own research, right? Do your own research, stay in the know. And it's so important, again, to vote. I come across so many folks that are frustrated with what's going on in their local communities, frustrated what's happening in general, just with the political climate. And they complain. But at the end of the day, they're like, okay, what's next? I'm like, do you vote? Nah, I'm not doing all that. No. Then please, don't give me all the crap. You have to get out there and vote. Your vote is your voice. Okay. That is your power. We have to continue to keep our elected officials accountable. Look, as a great conversation I had with Senator Hashmi, look, at the end of the day, she knows once she, if elected, she takes on that role. Look, the people will keep her accountable, just like they will for, either former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger or current Lieutenant Governor Winston Sears, if elected as gubernatorial race. Likewise for our Attorney General's race. Likewise, who's elected in our school board or city council. We have to do our part as voters to keep our elected officials accountable, my friends. So as always, look, y'all take care, stay blessed, stay safe, stay informed, and I hope to see y'all again for another great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. I'm out. Peace and blessings.
That's it for tonight on the Arrington Gavin Show. Thanks for tapping in and keeping the conversation alive. Don't forget, stay connected with us on all platforms. Follow at Arrington Gavin on Instagram, Blue Sky, and X, and subscribe to the official Substack for exclusive takes and deep dives you won't get anywhere else. We're here every weeknight, same time, same energy, same real talk. Until next time, stay bold, stay sharp, and stay true. That's what we do on the Arrington Gavin Show. Peace.